Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Cork It podcast. My name is Kyle. I'm back here joined by
Dante Ellison,
Nico Genovese,
and we've got our first guest of the new year. We've got
Justin Franczak.
And Justin's joining us here for today's episode. A lot happening in the sports world this past week, especially in the football world. But let's start off around the league real quick. Or actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let the listeners know a little bit about you, your major, year, any fun fact if you've got one.
So, yeah, I'm a senior integrated media production major, minors in marketing and social media certificate, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. And fun fact is I'm basically just grew a diehard sports fan in Cleveland. My dad was bat boy for the Cleveland. Now they're the Guardians, but Cleveland Indians in the late 80s. So when I was like 6, he had these photos in our basement. And I thought he was an MLB player, but it turns out he was just the bat boy and ball boy. So he got me, and we just were watching games ever since I was young and raised me a huge sports fan in general.
Nice, very nice. Well, excited to have you for today's episode. Yeah. So real quick, let's jump into Around the League. We got a big episode planned here today. We've got a lot of stuff to get through. So Around the League, we've got a ton of stuff. Let's start off first with the U.S. Open, which finished up this week. We saw Alcaraz, who is a 19-year-old phenom out of Spain, who won the U.S. Open this past week. He's now the youngest number one ranked tennis player of all time, which is crazy. He beat, in the semifinals, he beat the U.S. guy, TFO, who was a wonderful story. He had a lot of upsets. He was the number 22 seed, made it all the way to the semifinals, U.S. Open in New York, basically had the whole arena rooting for him. His underdog story came to an end to Alcaraz, and then Alcaraz beat Rudd in the finals to win the U.S. Open, and he was amazing. I know Dante and I watched a lot of the U.S. Open. Do you want to talk at all about Alcaraz? Because he was actually insane.
Yeah. He just recovers on everything. TFO, I think his main powerhouse is his serve.
Mm-hmm.
And Alcaraz was returning everything. And he's number one now, so I think he's the youngest player.
And the thing is too about that matchup with TFO is that I saw that it was literally TFO's only downfall was I think he was getting tired because anytime he would have a good hit on Alcaraz, he would be able to recover and he'd be able to get it back. So anytime he thought he had a point, he'd have to run back and try to hit it again. So that was tough. But he fought it out. He had the two sets that he won out of the 5 that TFO won went to extras. They were super hard fought, tie-break sets that he won. And he actually came back. He was down 2-1 set, won the 4th set, and then lost in the last one. So it was a great match against TFO, and then Alcaraz winning the last match there to win the U.S. Open. Let's go around to another part. We'll talk a little bit about baseball. Pujols is the 4th all-time in homers with his 697th home run a couple of nights ago. That was absurd. Did you hear the story about that too?
I didn't.
So the girl that caught it, they brought her back to give him the ball and meet him or whatever, and they just talked about how it was the anniversary of her dad's death as when she caught it. And so Pujols let her keep the home run ball, signed it, and then signed 3 more balls and bats and stuff and gave it to her, and
that's awesome.
All that stuff. And it's cool because that was his record breaking home run ball, and he let her keep it. So that was really cool. Class act from Albert Pujols. And then the Dodgers were the first to clinch a playoff spot. This is their 10th straight year making the playoffs. So they are the first one to clinch a playoff spot this year in the MLB. Let's go over a little bit of basketball. Giannis and Greece advance in international play, while Jokic and Serbia are upset and eliminated. They were actually the favorites to win this tournament, and now they are out. Did you see Jokic's off the
scoreboard
shot clock? Yeah, it was crazy. And they're he does this in practice all the time. Let's do a little college football because there's so much to talk about. So in the AP polls came out. Georgia jumps Bama for number 1, which long time coming after Bama squeaked out that win against Texas. Nebraska fires Scott Frost. They paid an extra $7.5 million to fire him now rather than wait 3 weeks. So his buyout now is $15 million. His buyout after October 1st would have been $7.5. So how bad do you have to be at your job that they choose to pay you an extra more just to get rid of you faster? That's crazy. There was so many upsets in football this week, so I want to talk about those. Notre Dame got upset by Marshall at home. They were number 8. Marshall's unranked. A&M got upset by App State. A&M was 6. App State unranked. Georgia Southern beat down on Nebraska. Those were all 3 Sun Belt teams winning against mid-major, or not even Power 5. Like, they won against Power 5 teams. Not only were they Power 5 teams, 2 of them were ranked. Number 9, Baylor lost to BYU in overtime. Kansas caps off their win against West Virginia with a pick 6. Kansas is now 2-0. Kansas went from being the worst football team in the FBS to now being 2-0. Yeah. Number 20, Kentucky beat number 12, Florida, and now they jumped into the top 10. I believe they're number 9 right now in the AP poll. So another team to watch for that they keep rising. Alabama squeaks by Texas. I mentioned that earlier. Quinn Ewers went out with an injury. I heard that it was 4 to 6 weeks, possibly.
Yeah, I think so.
Unfortunate there that he won't be out there, but that was an absurd game. And the entire game, Bryce Young had been not doing anything. And I was see, this is the Bryce Young from the Auburn game last year, that we're seeing. And then he exploded and then had the game-winning drive. And I don't know, just doing what Bryce Young does. Yeah. Eastern Kentucky beat Bowling Green in 7 overtimes, 59-57.
That's crazy.
It was a 5-hour long game. So the game went for 5 hours long. Crazy, absurd game for Bowling Green. And Bowling Green was an interesting team because they beat Minnesota last year, didn't they? That's going to be a fun team to watch in the MAC. So let's go NFL real quick. Week 1 of the NFL's in the books, except for Seahawks Broncos. You guys will be seeing this on Tuesday. We're filming this on Monday, so that game has yet to kick off. Throughout the league, there's been a lot of stuff going on. TJ Watt got hurt. They think he has a torn pec. They're not exactly sure. If it's torn, he's out for the year. If it's not, he's out for, you would know,
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah,
so
that's tough.
Not looking great either way. He's a huge part of their defense. Joe Burrow had 5 turnovers in the loss to Pitt. That was barely.
Amazing.
That was unheard of from Joe Burrow. That was crazy.
That was crazy. I was not expecting that at all.
4 interceptions and a fumble. Justin Jefferson torches the Packers. Packers wide receivers look lost. That's what I wrote down. Browns are 1-0 for the first time since 2004.
Congrats.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Where'd you watch the game at?
I was at my friend Max's place. We went to the Browns-Ravens game last year, and that's when Lamar got hurt and Huntley came in. But very happy about my Brownies, and I can't wait for week 2. They just actually leaked the logo of the field. It's the Elf logo.
Oh yeah,
so
that's awesome. They were doing the fans pick the logo on the center
I helped
field.
contribute to that logo. So.
Oh yeah, which ones did you vote for?
It was the Elf.
The Elf one.
Stiff arm, yeah.
Nice. So Browns looking good so far, even without Deshaun Watson. Patrick Mahomes took no time to silence doubters with 5 touchdowns versus Arizona. I want to bring back that clip of Contini saying we were going to see the real Patrick Mahomes this year, and he had 5 touchdowns in his first game out. Bears win in the rain versus the 49ers. That
field was a mess, dude.
That field was disgusting.
That field turned into a pool.
It was absurd. Although that was one of the coolest videos I've seen of them slipping, sliding.
Wasn't that new turf?
Was it new turf too?
They were getting backlash because they picked one that they picked the not as good turf because there was a better turf out there that wouldn't flood as easily, and then they didn't pick that one, and then their field gets flooded.
I also saw the thing pregame of it was a photo of the lines, the sidelines, and how they're crooked and zigzag. Yeah. So Bears their field's not looking too nice, but they looked well. They looked pretty good on the field. Got the W. Trey Lance. I'm sorry. I mean, you could say it's the rain. It's all
I never got hype around him. People were always saying Trey Lance is going to carry the 49ers to playoffs and do great things, but I'm not seeing any of the hype around him.
I'm not completely sold on him yet, so I'm not taking that for granted. And Falcons got outscored by 14 points.
Classic Falcons.
In the fourth quarter to lose to the Saints. Classic Falcons. So that's around the league for us real quick. So we've got some beautiful NFL, NCAA topics to sort through today. So we'll just jump right into that. So NFL, I asked you guys to bring all your knowledge. You watched a lot of the games. I've got some questions real quick. So let's jump into this real quick. We've got most impressive player or team. If you have more than one, we could talk about it. Yeah. So who were you most impressed with after week 1? And Justin, do you want to go first, or should I defer to one of these two?
I'll start it off.
All right, let's start it off, Justin.
So, I had A.J. Brown, and he had 10 receptions for 155 yards. And last year, he only had 2 games with over 140. So I think he can be bound to have at least 5 of these type of games this year. And, in my opinion, I think Jalen Hurts can do that for him over Tannehill like last year. So.
Yeah, I definitely do. I loved that Eagles-Detroit game. That was like it was like a gun show. Like there was so much going on. Like there was like slinging the ball all throughout the field. Huge high-scoring affair. That was a very fun game to watch. Yeah. Nico, you got any impressors?
Should I do my player and team or just the player?
Do both if you got both.
Okay, so for player, I got Justin Jefferson. I mean, he had 9 catches, 184 yards, 2 TDs. He got open a lot against supposedly a good Packers defense.
I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, so I was really impressed with that because I mean we watched the game together and it was shocking like how open he was really getting. Like he didn't really have a lot of big contested catches. It was just wide open catch and runs. Most exciting / impressive team for me, a little homer pick, was the Dolphins. I was a little nervous going into this week because we got the new coach, we got some new players, got a new offensive scheme, so didn't really know how that was going to look. But even though he did miss some plays, Tua did look pretty good in the offense, 23 of 33, 270 yards, a TD, no turnovers. He was 1 of 9 quarterbacks with no turnovers for week 1. I was happy to see Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert do good in this offense. Most of their exciting plays weren't off exactly a handoff, but just a short pass in the backfield, and then they ran and made a play off of that. So I was happy to see that. And then our defense looked sharp, getting 3 turnovers against this Patriots offense. So I was really excited to see them working and doing a good job in this new offensive scheme with their new coach and Mike McDaniels.
Dante?
So for player, I have Minkah Fitzpatrick.
He did play really well.
He had a phenomenal game.
He had a pick 6, 14 combined tackles, and a blocked game-winning field goal. I mean, their offense wasn't helping them out much that game, so the defense needed to come up, and he came up huge. He had a slow end of the season last year, so seeing him bounce back in game 1 was huge for us. And then my team, I had the Bears. I mean, bad conditions. Underdogs against a team that is predicted to make the playoffs. I feel like they were really impressive to me.
Yeah, that's the thing that was very interesting is we talked JJ, who you all may know, who used to be on here over the summer, and last year was so high on the 49ers. And
Never understood why.
I was like, I don't see the 49ers being the 2 seed in the NFC. I don't understand them winning their division. I don't understand all this stuff. And he's like, well, they still have Garoppolo on their roster. They're still the same system, so if they need to, and they just got beat by the Bears.
Yeah,
and I mean, the Bears went into the season having supposedly the worst weapons in the league, and they just got beat to them.
I mean, with the new, with the same system and stuff, it's like I don't think it is because I mean, Mike McDaniel left. He was like a mastermind behind that offense, the Kyle Shanahan offense, and then they're not using Debo the way he did because he flat out said he doesn't want to be in the backfield. He doesn't want to be taking handoffs or be like a running back anymore. So when you're not utilizing that and then you don't have the same OC anymore, it's not going to be the same offense you had last year. So, I mean, I don't understand why, like, JJ and then some other people thought like they'd be the same offense.
Yeah, and although you may say it's a little unfair for us to be saying all this without JJ here, we talk about this quite a bit, so don't worry. So I'm going to go with mine. I've got my team, I've got a player, and then I got a player that went under the radar because he had a couple of interceptions, but if you take away the interceptions, he had a phenomenal game. So my team is the Bills. The Bills came out and just lit it up against the Rams and like absolutely dominated. And my pick last week is I said Bills were going to win by at least a touchdown, and they won by 3. So Bills did an incredible job. Josh Allen looked great. Gabe Davis looked really, really good. And a lot of people were like, well, he's only, had a couple good playoff games. Let's see him in the regular season. He played great. Allen Robinson was non-existent for the Rams in their offense. Cooper Kupp played well. as usual. Stephon Diggs had a good game. Cam Akers, nothing. So Bills looked very, very good that game. So I'm going to say Bills were the team that impressed me the most this week, especially against the reigning Super Bowl champs.
Their defense looks scary.
Von Miller really
exploded.
nice in there in that system. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch
He
them.
don't age. Von Miller don't age.
Oh, yeah, he does not at all. And then my player that impressed me the most was Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he was 30 for 39, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like, that's crazy. Like, very, very good play from him. It was very, very fun to watch that game and see him play. Just actually, like, absolutely light it up against the Cardinals. Yeah. And, you know, he proved once and again, like, why he is, like, usually consensus top 3 quarterback in the league year in and year out. So that was a lot of fun. And then here's my guy that went under the radar in terms of how well he did. Carson Wentz had a pretty good game.
Did have a good game.
So he was 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which probably not great, but 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. They got the win. It wasn't the most glamorous win against the Jaguars, but they did get the win. He looked pretty good out there under center for the Commanders. So I think he was a little under the radar there just because of the fact that he had those 2 interceptions, and it was Commanders Jaguars, so I don't think a lot of people watched that game, but he did look pretty nice in there in that system. All right, let's go next question. We've got most disappointing player or team from week 1. If you've got both, let me hear both. If you got one or the other, let me hear it. Justin, you go first.
All right, so I know it's obvious, but Joe Burrow with 5 total turnovers.
Yep.
But I had a backup just in case I wasn't going first. So my backup is Derek Carr.
I had that one too.
Oh,
I had that one too.
Yeah, with those interceptions, I mean, he did throw 3 touchdowns, had some great passes to Waller, and then Devontae had that great grab in the end zone. But, yeah, it's early. But he'll bounce back in track, and he'll get that connection with his former college teammate.
Yeah.
So.
I had Derek Carr, too. I just feel like he didn't perform as well as I thought he would with the new addition of Devontae Adams and then Darren Waller being back. 3 interceptions. I expected it a lot better. But for teams, I had Rams and Cowboys. Rams, defending champs, couldn't do anything against that Bills defense, like we just said. The only bright spot I saw was Cooper Kupp getting open because that's just what he does.
Right.
And then Cowboys, I know there's always jokes and memes about them not being able to do much or anything, but they just look bad. Even before Dak got hurt, he only threw for 130 yards, and an interception. And I think I said this in an earlier podcast. CeeDee Lamb did not look like a wide receiver 1. He only had 2 catches, 29 yards. He could not get open. And without Amari Cooper, if you want to be a true wide receiver 1, you got to be able to get open and just really make a difference in your wide receiver room. And I just didn't see that with CD.
Yeah, for my team, I also had the Dallas Cowboys, but I changed mine to the Colts. They played the Texans. They tied. It's not terrible, but with that defense,
with the Colts too. With the Texans, with the Texans is just brutal.
You have top 2 running back in Jonathan Taylor, a top at least 10 defense, top O-line. You expect them to win that game against the Texans, so I had them. And then my player, most disappointing, I had Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
I was watching the game. It felt like he was holding the ball too long for some times, for some plays. And then he just wasn't trusting his wide receivers after that first Christian Watson drop. He just wasn't.
Yeah, Watson didn't get another target until the 4th quarter after that.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough to watch. And he did hold on to the ball a little too long. Part of the reason I think is the O-line's still banged up. We have 2 all-pro O-linemen that are out. And they'll come back next week. But
he'll bounce back.
They'll bounce back. I'm hoping that next week against the Bears will give everyone an opportunity, especially the rookies, to just get comfortable.
Yeah.
Christian Watson, people fault him for the drop, which, it's a pretty bad drop. It would have been a 75-yard touchdown. For his first play of his NFL career, that would have been amazing. But, people also forget, did you see the route he ran to get open?
Route doesn't matter if you don't catch the ball.
It was beautiful route. So,
don't matter if you don't catch the ball.
The route running's there. You just got to catch the ball. So
$1 million move, 2-cent finish.
I mean, I'm trying to find the bright spots in the sadness. So yeah, I'm gonna go. My team's the Packers. I was very disappointed by a number of different things going on there. I think the receivers, the rookie receivers, not getting. It was just poor communication, running the wrong routes, dropping passes, not looking very strong. Aaron Rodgers did, I think, his best, but then he had like weird mental mistakes, like throwing it like 70 yards into double coverage, throwing a pick like at the end of the half. But like you didn't have to do that. Like there was like 50 seconds on the clock and they like heaved it up. First play to throw a pick. He held onto the ball a little bit too long. And then the coaching was my other issue with that is guys like A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones had a pretty good game, but there was some moments where it was like 4th and 1 and they decided to run it into it was like 4th and goal on the 1 and they decided to run it in with A.J. Dillon to try and catch him off guard, I guess. But like to me, I don't like that because you have less decision in it than a pass. Like if you're choosing to pass on 4th and 1, you kind of get the decision like, oh, if the O-line, like holds up all right, you can kind of run it in, or you can Aaron Rodgers can run 1 yard into the end zone, or you can find someone open to pass to if there's nothing there. But like with the run, there's no other option. It's just you hope that your O-line can block, and especially after they hadn't been doing that well with blocking the rest of the game, I didn't like that at all. The defensive scheme was so frustrating to watch because the defensive line, like the Packers defensive line, did a really good job of stopping the run. I mean, Dalvin Cook had 20 carries for 90 yards. So like they did a pretty good job of halting the run a little bit. But they ran zone like the entire game, and Justin Jefferson is going to be open at least 70% of the time if you don't have someone on him all the time. Like in a zone, there's no way you're going to be able to catch that, like catch up to him. He's so fast. And it was just annoying because in the press conference afterwards, Jair Alexander, who they just paid like millions and millions of dollars to, top 5 corner in the league, was like, I wanted to guard him, like shadow him the entire game. And they said no. And like to me, that's so annoying because like you have guys in your secondary like Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, Rasul Douglas that are very, very strong and can guard the rest of the field. If you just want to put Jair right on Justin Jefferson every single play, that game's a lot different. I don't think he has 180 passing yards.
I mean, that's what you got to do if you're a top cornerback in a top team. Like, put your best cornerback
especially
and just
against,
have him guard
especially
the best
against
receiver.
Possibly the best wide receiver in the league. If you aren't planning to like just face guard the best wide receiver in the league, it's just so annoying.
Make
because
your best cornerback go get him.
I mean, the way that people prepare for any other team is they point out the strengths of that offense and they try to combat that. And I just feel like we did not do that at all in the game plan. So I was very disappointed by the Packers.
I just feel like another thing I wanted to add with the red zone and the goal line, I just think that's going to be the Packers' struggle this year, is because Rodgers doesn't have full trust in his receivers like he did with Devontae Adams. And they're going to try to like lean on Jones and Dillon too much to make those power runs on 4th and goal, 3rd and goal on the 1 or 2 yard line, and they'll just get stuck and they won't know what to do. And
I'm hoping that, and I know when I say this you're going to laugh because like it's not much, but when Allen Lazard gets back, I think
make an impact.
I think having a receiver that Rodgers has played with before and still trusts, because people, I mean, you notice like in that game, like the people getting most of the targets were Cobb and Robert Tonyan, guys he's played with before this season. Sammy Watkins didn't even get a lot of targets, right? Let alone the Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, like the rookies. So for us to sit here and be like, oh yeah, well, like he's just got to trust him. It'll be easier to when you get guys like Lazard back, when he has guys that he's played with in the past that he can throw to. Granted, it's not going to make much of a difference, but like it is going to take time for him to trust these rookie receivers and for them to earn his trust too. I mean, you can't be dropping those passes. So I was pretty disappointed with them overall. It was not a great week for them. And then player, I had Trey Lance. I mean, they praised him to be next guy up, and he just was non-existent. I mean, you could be like, well, the rain, but come on. Justin Fields had a pretty decent game despite the rain. So I'm going to say him for mine. All right, let's go to the next thing. NFL still. We've got week 1 overreactions. Do you have any overreactions you want to take away from week 1? Anything that you saw and you were just like, you know what, I'm going to run with this. I think this is going to happen the rest of the season.
I think it's going to happen the rest of the season?
Like an overreaction, you know what I'm saying? Like to me, my overreaction is after watching this 49ers team, I don't think they make the playoffs. I think that's my overreaction. Is I watch this team. I don't think they're making the playoffs. Do you have any overreactions? You're just going based off week 1 that you're going to make for the rest of the season.
Mac Jones is going to show why he's not a top quarterback like everyone's saying he is. I mean, he had an interception against the Dolphins, which the Dolphins had weaknesses on their defense with Byron Jones being out, Nick Needham was still beat up, and Mac Jones didn't utilize that at all and still try to attack one of the best cornerbacks in the league with an okay receiver in Devontae Parker. So I feel like if he wants to prove everyone that he is a top quarterback, you got to be smarter than that. Don't keep attacking the top cornerback when there is weaknesses on the defense. He had a fumble, he had that interception, and besides, he just didn't play well. And I know this is biased because I'm a Dolphins fan. I don't like the Patriots, but Mac got a lot of hype last year. Going to be a top star in the NFL, and after week 1, I just didn't see it at all. So I think it's going to continue, and he's not going to have as good of a season as everyone thought he was going to have.
I think that's definitely a good take there. You guys got overreactions?
I'll go. I saw something on TikTok saying the Giants are going to go 4-0 in these next 3 games, and I was just yeah, they won their first game, but I still see them as a last place team in their division. I mean, Saquon's a beast and everything, but once a good pass rush comes to Daniel Jones and gets to him, he's fumbling. So
I mean, he only had 180 yards passing or something in that game.
Saquon did a lot in that game.
I love Saquon. I want him to do well, but I still don't think he's going to be able to be that explosive every game. So if you're solely relying on your running back to have that explosive a game when your quarterback can't do anything, I agree with Dante. It's not going to be good in that division.
I definitely agree with that. Justin, do you have any overreactions? If not, we can move on.
I got one, yeah. So even though I'm a Browns fan, I love watching Lamar Jackson, even though he's a Raven, and that was our franchise that was taken over from us. But yeah, I think the Ravens are guaranteed at least a wild card or just clinch the AFC North. I think even though it was just the Jets and he was facing Flacco, just the way that he was slinging the ball and his pass in the third quarter was just a dime. I think Lamar's going to have a really bounce back year and silence a lot of haters that are Lamar haters. So I think with their defense, getting Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters back the entire season, assuming they stay healthy, they just got to stay healthy. But
they did just have some key injuries, though. I think Kyle Hamilton just tore his ACL. And they had one other guy tear his Achilles. So, I agree with you. I do think,
especially Dobbins back. I'm an Ohio State fan, so
I think the way Lamar looked, even though it was against the Jets, but he looked really good. So I agree with that. That I think the Ravens do have a shot, even with their key injuries on defense, to clinch that division.
It's definitely going to be a fun division to watch, especially the way the Steelers came out in that first game. I was surprised by them. They did surprise me. All right, what was your game of the week? So every week they've got America's game of the week, blah, blah, blah. And this week it was the Packers, Vikings, and it was horrible. Yeah. So looking back on it now, what was the best game this week?
I had Steelers-Bengals. I thought that was a really exciting game to watch. And, again, I was surprised by the Steelers, but their defense looked so good.
Oh, yeah.
Top one.
It made me scared because the Dolphins do play them. So, secondary looked really good. Again, Joe threw 4 interceptions. Minka looked outstanding. And, yes, TJ Watt being hurt does hurt them through, the rest of the season. But I still think they'll get good pressure. And their secondary, I'm still just thrown by, how good it looked. But the Bengals did come back at the end of the game and forced an overtime. And, overtime was exciting. Some missed field goals, some decent drives, and Steelers ended up clinching it. But I think that was probably my game of the week. It was just a very overall exciting game.
I had Cincy and Pittsburgh, too. Our defense, Pittsburgh's defense, looked insane. T.J. Watt went down, but Highsmith came in, had 3 sacks, I'm pretty sure. He looked really good. So it's obviously going to be a big blow, but I think they can pull it out. And then the offense, they need to figure it out, but I believe they can figure it out and start moving the ball down the field better. But that was my best game of the week.
Justin, you got one?
Yeah, so I originally had Bengals Steelers, but I can elaborate on Panthers Browns. Just being the 5-year anniversary of Baker planting the flag at Ohio Stadium, and all the drama that was just built up within the week. I was just watching press conferences after press conference, and it was just crazy how Baker, he's a quarterback who's been playing his QB his entire life, and he somehow still didn't get the snap counts correct, and the ball was on the ground 4 times, and then it ended up there was a Christian McCaffrey run that got taken 25 yards, and then the 2 of his touchdowns were by blown coverages. So, yeah, that's my game of the week.
My game of the week was I really did like the Eagles and Lions game. And although it was a very high-scoring affair, although the only takeaway, like reservation was that, I mean, the Eagles had so many touchdowns and not one passing touchdown. They had like 5 rushing touchdowns and a defensive touchdown and all that stuff. So I would say that game was still fun, though, just the high-scoring affair. In all honesty, the 49ers Bears game was fun just because of the rain. Yeah. I think that game was so much fun to watch. Just like them running around and seeing like the puddles splash all around them.
Sliding.
Like that was
cool to see.
So much fun. And then Saints Falcons was a really fun game just because of the comeback at the end. And I mean, seeing guys like Jarvis Landry like come back out clutch catch up and playing 7 receptions for 114 yards for a guy that was like an underrated signing in free agency. I think that was a lot of fun to watch. So that was my game of the week. All right, let's go week 2 picks real quick. We got a couple matchups here. I'm going to take away one of them because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, it's not going to be that much of a game because Dak's hurt, but that was Bengals Cowboys. So I'm going to take away that pick for us. And we'll just go with these picks here. We've got Thursday Night Football, Chargers versus Chiefs. We'll go down the line. I want to hear your takes on this. Justin, you want to start?
So I have the Chargers. I just think Herbert, he is challenging Burrow for the conversation of the best quarterback out of that 2020 class, even when Burrow and Tua were drafted before him. And the additions of Khalil Mack showed out. He got revenge on his former team, his first team, the Raiders, and then even J.C. Jackson adding him as well. So their defense is loaded.
Their defense is loaded.
I got Chargers as well. Defense looked really good against the Raiders. And I think they'll have an equal game like they did against the Chiefs. And like Herbert looked sharp. I mean, has there been any update on Keenan Allen? I know he got hurt week 1.
Not that I've seen, I don't think. I could take a look.
So even if he is out, I think Herbert did a good job of utilizing his other receivers. And he used his 2 tight ends a lot, and they performed really well. So Herbert's going to do a good job of using his other receivers when his best receiver's out. So I think the Chargers are going to take this one.
I got the Chiefs in this one. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, best QB in the league, in my opinion. I mean, Kelsey still has it. Juju's a good second option to Travis Kelsey, and then Edwards-Helaire didn't look too bad, and they manhandled the Cardinals. So I think it's going to be a really close game, but I have the Chiefs in this one.
To answer your question, Keenan Allen is still questionable. They said he was listed as a non-participant on the Chargers' estimated injury report on Monday.
It looked like it was his hamstring, but I don't know if
it was a hamstring.
He tore it or just strained it or something.
I'm guessing it wasn't a tear because he's questionable. So, but after going off that, I am going Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes showed out. And, I mean, you can be like, oh, well, it was against the Cardinals. They don't have much of a defense. But I still think that he showed that despite the big change in wide receivers and all that stuff around him, he's still Patrick Mahomes, and he's still going to get the job done. So I think I'm going to take them over the Chargers. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be close. I'm hoping – I think it's going to get decided on the last play or last drive with like a minute left or something like that. I'm hoping for something like that, but that's my take on that for sure. Let's go Patriots-Steelers. Let's talk about that one because those are I'm not sure exactly how well that game's going to go now that Mac Jones is questionable with his back, but we'll get some takes here.
So yeah, I have the Patriots only if Mac Jones plays.
So let's say Mac Jones plays. What's the take? You're going Patriots?
I'm going to go Patriots. Okay. I know the Steelers defense, but they're going to have an off week.
Okay. I mean, I got Steelers. I mean, again, I know TJ Watt's out, but I don't think Mac's going to be able to handle that secondary. I mean, this isn't Mac's fault, but Patriots receivers aren't the best, so he's gonna try to go deep, and Minka's just gonna be there, intercept it. And I know the Steelers offense needs work and needs to do better, but I still think they're gonna outperform the Patriots offense, and I mean, I think it'll be a defensive game where the Steelers just get defensive scores, and that seals the game for them.
So let me real quick. Let me jump into the news on Mac Jones. Is that it says it's back spasms and that he had negative X-ray results on Monday, so it's nothing serious. And they said basically he's gonna play based on how he can play in practice this week. But if not, it's likely they said Brian Hoyer, the veteran, or Bailey Zapp out of Western Kentucky. And Bailey Zapp was the guy that broke Joe Burrow's record for most touchdowns in a season, wasn't it? Or was it yards? He broke just recently. He broke, I believe it was last year. I want to see what it was, if it was yards or if it was touchdowns. He set, so he had, in his last season of his college career before getting drafted for Western Kentucky, he had 5,967 yards and 62 touchdowns.
Dang. In a season?
Yeah, so he set records with both of those for most yards and touchdowns in one season. And he's the Patriots guy they drafted, so he will be likely the starter if Mac Jones doesn't play, but what it looks like now is it's maybe Mac Jones. So with that being said, I don't think that changed your mind on anything, but Dante, let me hear your take.
I have the Steelers. It's going to be closer than people think. I mean, the Patriots have a good run attack. Steelers have a history of having trouble with the run. So it's going to be closer than people think, but I think if the Steelers stick to their game, offense gets rolling, they will pull out the victory.
I like that take. I have a feeling that this might be the worst offensive game we see in a minute. The Steelers have such a potent defense, and Najee's not playing, right?
No,
he might.
He's questionable.
On track to play.
So Najee's on track to play. That's my big takeaway is if Najee's really the X factor in this for me. If he plays, he's probably going to have an electric game. If not, then it'll be a rough one. Yeah. So I'm going to take Steelers. I think we saw what their defense can do. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more of that this week. I'm going to leave it at that because I want us to get through all of these and then do our college football take if we have time. We've got 7 minutes or so we'll see. So let's do Buccaneers at Saints. Let's go through it.
So I have the Buccaneers. I think even though it's not 2014 Julio Jones, he still showed out yesterday.
He looked sharp.
If Prime Julio played with Prime AB or TB, Tom Brady, that would be insane. But I think the connections would continue to grow, and it showed yesterday.
Yeah, I got the Bucs too. I mean, I think their offense looked good. Their defense it looked sharp against the Cowboys too, and I think the Saints offense won't be able to do their best against the Bucs defense, so I'm gonna lean towards the Buccaneers.
I have the Bucs as well. I mean, Saints got off to a slow start in week 1, so I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Buccaneers defense looked incredible. I will say about my take last week, I did think that the Cowboys were going to show up a little bit on offense. I was kind of right on my take with Tom Brady. He had a touchdown and interception, 200 yards. So it wasn't a fantastic game by any means. It wasn't necessarily a bad game. They still won the game. For this one, I'm going to have to go Buccaneers. It's going to be hard to bet against that defense, although I do think it'll be closer than people think. I think that Jameis will have a decent game, decent showing. I think Alvin Kamara, that'll be his game to kind of shine for fantasy owners, in my opinion. And this one's probably the best game of the week, hopefully. Vikings-Eagles, Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I got the Vikings. Justin Jefferson, I think honestly he's top 3. If you don't have him in your top 3 wide receivers, I don't know how you can argue that. And I'm not saying he's Randy Moss. I know a lot of Vikings fans, they want to have a vision he'll be Randy Moss for them, just their legend. But Randy Moss had 3 of 163 in one game, and then JJ had 9 for 184. So.
Yeah, that was definitely a crazy game.
Yeah. I got the Vikings too. I think this is going to be a really good game, and I'm excited to watch it. That Vikings offense did look really explosive. I mean, most of it was because of Jettas, but I think they'll they'll perform really well against the Eagles defense, and I think Jefferson's going to have a very similar game. So I'm leaning towards the Vikings.
I have the Vikings as well. I mean, they looked really good on both sides of the ball against the Packers. I have high aspirations for them this year, so I'm going to go Vikings.
I'm going to take Eagles. I think that a big part of the defensive game plan for the Vikings last game against the Packers was to completely rush the quarterback. I mean, the Packers' offensive line is weak. Aaron Rodgers, not a mobile quarterback by any means. So I think that matching up against a quarterback who can move around in the pocket against a slightly better, a better O-line as of now. The Packers' O-line is atrocious as of right now. Yeah. I think it'll be different for them. I think Zadarius Smith doesn't get as much stuff as he got against the Packers. I think that they'll have to rely more on their secondary defensively rather than their pass rush. And I think that'll be a very different game. I think Jalen Hurts is going to control the tempo of this game pretty well. I think that, with guys like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, although Devonta Smith didn't get much
didn't do anything
at all in his first game.
Fat zero in fantasy.
I think this will be his chance to kind of show out against this defense. I think it'll be close, like very close, but I do think the Eagles will win this one and pull this one out. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff here from the NFL season. We'll get our takes. I'm gonna have to go back and look at our stats and stuff and bring that in the next episode where we stand, picks wise and all that stuff. But let's move into, does anyone have anything they want to add on football before we move into NCAA? We got one thing.
Do we have time for NCAA? Or should we just go straight to hot takes?
Should we go straight to hot takes?
I think we just go straight to hot takes. I don't know. Unless you guys really want to talk about it.
Do you have a upset that you really want to talk about in the NCAA?
It's just Washington, Michigan State.
Do you have one that you really want to talk about?
I had Oregon, BYU.
Oregon, BYU. Do you want to do it real quick? We don't have to go into it.
Yeah, we can just say
okay.
one of them.
All right, so real quick, let's talk about NCAA football a little bit here. We saw this week with tons and tons of upsets. So real quick, we don't have to get too deep into it because I want to get our hot takes and make sure we have time for that. But bring me a game that you think is the best chance for an upset this week. You start, Justin.
So I have Washington, Michigan State. Yeah, Washington put up 97 points in the past two games, and they're just going to this game with momentum. So.
Yeah, well, to be fair, one of those games was against Kent State, so. But I totally get the vision. I totally get the vision.
Yeah, I had a person. I was on my kickball team this past year. He kicked for Kent State for 4 years, so go Flashes. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I got 25 Oregon beating 12 ranked BYU. Oregon did not have a good week one. Obviously, they played Georgia, but they had a great bounce back second week. They dropped 70 points, so I think they're gonna go off that momentum. They're feeling more confident in themselves now, so I think they can pull off that upset.
I had Oregon, BYU again. Just as Nico said, they put up 70. Had a tough week one, so I feel like putting up 70 going into week 3 has a chance to upset BYU.
I'm going to take Auburn over number 22 ranked Penn State. I was at that Penn State game. They looked very, very nice. However, they were matched up against a, mid-major school, mid-major program. And a couple of those big touchdowns they scored against OU were not necessarily like great plays. They were more like bad, missed opportunities for OU, like where they blitz everyone and he sneaks around outside and gets like a 70-yard touchdown. We saw that happen twice. Yeah. So I think that Auburn with a better defense is going to be able to slow that down quite a bit. They were also putting in their backup QBs and stuff like that, trying things out. I didn't see a ton I liked from Clifford. I will say this though. The Penn State line did not hold up well against OU. There was like 5 or 6 sacks from OU. There was a lot of QB pressures. There was a lot of tackles for losses. That was my biggest takeaway from Ohio's game against them. And then against Purdue, they barely squeaked out with that win for Purdue. And I think Auburn is going to be a true test of their strength in their both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. And then another one I just want to throw in there. I feel like this is OU's chance to upset someone. I think Iowa State had a rough game against Iowa this past week. Yeah. I think OU is going to go in. I think it'll be closer than people think. I think OU definitely covers at 17. I don't know if they win, but I think it'll be a better game than people are anticipating because I think this is our chance to see like Rourke really explode in a game like this because he had a great game against FAU. So I'm excited for that. All right, let's go into our hot takes here to finish this off. Every episode we come out, give us a hot take. So, Justin, I heard you have a hot take locked and loaded, so let's hear it.
Yes, indeed. So I think cold pizza from the night before is a solid non-breakfast meal if you don't want to have breakfast food.
Totally agree. Love cold pizza for breakfast, dude.
I do not.
That is a fantastic hot take. I love cold pizza.
I don't like cold pizza. I like can't get behind it.
I
don't
think it's
know
one
why.
of the best things to eat.
I think just like the sauce the day after, the way it marinates.
Yes,
it doesn't even have to be hot.
dude.
Like,
I love just. I'm not feeling waffles or cereal or anything, so it's like, oh, I got leftover pizza from the night before. Let's just eat that, and fantastic hot take. Love it.
All right.
Domino's $8. It's hard.
Oh yeah, they
So
do
good.
that two
It's food
for
pass.
2 for
Yeah.
$7 or something like that.
Yeah.
They do good stuff at Domino's. Nico, you got
All
one?
right, I'm gonna take it back to football and kind of contradicting my last week's Super Bowl picks, but I don't think the Rams will even make it that far in the playoffs. I just very early week 1 prediction, but they did not look good at all against the Bills, and everyone was expecting them because, in like a lot of people's opinions, they got a little bit better, adding some like Allen Robinson, adding some other people. They didn't look impressive at all, and I mean, they'll probably fix things as weeks go by, but early week 1 hot take, I don't think the Rams will go far in the playoffs at all.
That's a pretty interesting take, especially based on what you said last week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
contradicting my last week take, but yeah.
All right, Dante, hit us with yours.
Some bias in here, but I have the Steelers winning the division.
Some bias here as I'm about to unload the most biased take of all
God.
time.
They the offense didn't look too good, but I really feel like Tomlin and the offensive coordinator Matt Canada will figure that out, start to get going, and I mean their defense is insane. So them two together, I feel like they could take the division.
Yeah.
What's the Deontay's baller?
Yeah,
His catch, sideline
was
catch was
insane.
They don't need Juju.
Nope.
I want to pull up stats for this because I want to see how good he did before I unload a completely uneducated hot take, because I know he did well for me in fantasy. But I feel like a sleeper pick for like offensive rookie of the year, Jahan Dotson had a pretty nice game. And you could be like, oh, it's against the Jaguars, but like will be a sleeper. I mean, I'm not going to say my hot take is always going to win it, but my hot take is that he's a sleeper for the pick, and I think we got to be on the watch for him. First round pick out of Penn State. I think he's going to do pretty well. And then I want to go off his breakfast take because I do have a semi-hot take. I think a breakfast burrito is a top 3 breakfast food because I think there's so much versatility
I do love
in a
breakfast
breakfast burrito because you can throw things like already top breakfast foods like, you know, bacon, eggs, and hash browns. You can always throw those in there. And then you can add things like chorizo or black beans or salsa or like all these other things to throw it in there. And I'm not a huge egg person, but if you can get some salsa, black beans, and stuff with that, it makes for a very, very staple of a breakfast food.
McDonald's
I
breakfast
agree.
burritos, dude.
I don't even like McDonald's breakfast burritos.
Dude, I don't know what they put in them, but I don't know why. But McDonald's breakfast burritos are
Never
bomb,
had
dude.
a breakfast.
I saw
burrito.
something that they
They
were
are
like,
so good.
I saw something that was like, oh, if Chipotle really wants to make good money, they'd
Chipotle
they'd
made a
open at
breakfast,
8
dude.
a.m. and make
If
breakfast
Chipotle
burritos.
made a breakfast, that would be insane, dude.
I mean, and it wouldn't be that bad. I mean, think about like they could still do bowls. I mean, you could still throw rice in that burrito. You can still like make like hash brown tater tot bowls like North End does. Like that's
just
really
get some
good.
like. I mean, you can still like do the chicken too. Just throw
Yeah.
some bacon in there and do
Oh,
some
yeah.
eggs. Yeah,
It's so versatile of a
that'd be
food. I
really
think it's
good.
top 3. I think it's a
Yeah.
top 3 breakfast food.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, you guys got so unlucky because when you guys weren't here at OU, we had Shively Hall as a dining hall, and they whipped up some great breakfast burritos before you had your 9 a.m.s. And
Man, the Big Mama's has a great breakfast burrito.
I'm not gonna go get
That
Big
is a
Mama's, bro.
great breakfast burrito.
Yeah.
I don't think they're open today.
They're not.
They're not open on like Mondays. I don't think.
That's so
I
disappointing.
know. I got their breakfast burrito the other day. They load that thing with like tater tots,
yes.
eggs, bacon.
It's
You can get
so good.
chorizo, the salsa, the chipotle ranch. Oh, it's so good. All right, so that's gonna do us for us this week. We have a lot of stuff to get through today, but we got through all of it. I'm proud of us for that. Real quick, Justin, promote yourself. Do a little self promo, shameless self plug.
So follow Franczak Films, IG, and
spell that out for him.
FRANCZAK, then FILMS.
There you go. I'll put all of Justin's stuff in the link below. He does videography and all that stuff, so make sure to give him a follow. Justin, thank you for joining us for this round. We'd love to have you on again. If you want to send in your hot takes, be sure to DM them to us on Instagram. We had our guest in, so we didn't do something like that today, but in the future, we'd love to get that started. We're going to have more guests on in the future. I think we're going to work our way slowly up to more guests
celebrities
and maybe celebrity guests. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, be sure to follow us on Instagram. Check the link in the bio for all this stuff. Our Instagram, TikTok, it's all linked down below. So be sure to check that out. You guys have anything else to add?
Book it.
See you guys next week.